Hi, and welcome to this new SMOD Academy session. I'm Francis Mas, the founder of SMOD, and today I'm with Basil and Erwan. Basil, please introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my video is lagging, but I'm here and I will show you how to use LED fixture on volumetric. And Erwan is with us also.
Hey, hi everyone. So yes, I'm Erwan, and I will forward all your questions from the YouTube chat to Basil, who will answer it.
Okay, so today's topic is not exactly about video, but about lightning. But lightning and videos are really getting more and more close, and this is the reason why we wanted to integrate some lightning concepts into SMOD. And in particular, this year we have worked on new features in order to create fixtures inside the 3D stage of SMOD. So we focused on, first of all, LED fixtures, so single pixels of light that have a color, and also on strip LEDs and simple fixtures that can have moving heads and these kind of things. And we started developing some new layers in the stage in order to support this. And the main objective is to have something really consistent between the video and the light in order to be able addressing like whole shows in a unified and integrated way. So I propose we start directly. And in order to start, we are simply going to create a new project. And since we are going to work on LEDs, the resolution need will be like lower than usual, and I think it's reasonable to start with a content map of 100 by 100 pixels. So we need to save the project, maybe inside the fixture folder, and fixture example will be a good name. Okay, so that's our content map. So we can display it in pixels by using this button here. It's 100 by 100 pixels, so we have 10,000 pixels. That can be mapped freely to 3D LEDs that are defined in the stage. So let's go to the stage. So as a reminder of the previous sessions, in the stage you can create different type of elements, basically everything involved in the video and lightning stage. So video projection is handled with video projectors that project image onto projection surfaces. LED screens, big LED screens are handled with these primitives. But now we are going to use a new category. And first of all, we need to create an element called fixture definitions. So this is really the first step in order to deal with fixtures in SMOD. We need to define first the type of fixtures we are going to use. So let's start with the simplest type, which is a simple LED. And we also need to connect this type to some contents. So this basically will say that my type called, let's say, LED, we are going to do an RGB pixel. So we can call this one RGB pixel, for example. And here I also define that RGB pixels are connected to the content map called content map. So once you have created a fixture definition, you can do a right click in the stage and there are some new options that appear. So I have some, yeah, here it is. And we can, by this way, instantiating our fixture in the stage. So this is our pixel. It's red by default because it took the first pixel available inside the content map, which is the top left pixel we can see here, and which is red with the content map. So I can bypass the normal content and put everything in white, and then my pixel will become white, or everything in black, or with the current content, which is inside the content map. So here, something very simple would be to create a uniform layer. And then we have a control over the color of this pixel. So, but having one single pixel is not very interesting. And let me maybe first show another way to instantiate pixels, fixtures, which is simply to drag and drop a fixture definition into the stage somewhere. And then Smod directly asks you where you want to place the pixel and how many of them you want. So we will start with a single one. We can duplicate this one to create another pixel. Let's create some more pixels. Maybe we can put some others in front, make a small structure. So the idea is really being able to model light architectures. So it's 3D, natively 3D. And once we have a bunch of pixels, we can very easily group them. So this is a group of pixels. And now we can very easily take this group and duplicate it in order to have more pixels. So now, as you can see, there is a lot of light, so it's a bit hard to distinguish every single pixel. And for this, there is a parameter, a preview size parameter that you can use in order to adapt the parameters of the preview and keep something readable. So now I made this structure of pixels, and we can go back to see what happened on the content map. And actually, what you can see, so maybe let's put this in a test pattern. And the dots you see here in the middle of the pixels corresponds to actual fixtures in the stage. So to better feel this, the best way is to lock the viewports on the content map. And then inside the tree, we can go to see the stage. And you can see the color is changing for the selected pixels. So by default, I can take any single pixel here and see where it is located. And as you can see, by default, Smod simply takes the next free location in order to allocate a correspondence between the content map and the fixture. So this corresponds to the parameter we have here, the UV coordinates. And now it is in automatic mode by default. So we see that the automatic coordinate of this pixel is 11 pixels in the x-axis and 0 in the y-axis. But if I want something else, I can simply check this to make it manual. And now let's say this one I wanted to have on a new line. So I start at 0 and line 1. And now my new pixel is located at this location. And the following pixels are simply in automatic mode. So they take the next free location in the content map, starting from the pixel we have placed manually. So you basically have two ways of working in order to link the fixtures to coordinates in the content map. Either you let it automatic, because you will see that thanks to the camera mapping techniques and the volume layer techniques we will see later today, we don't actually really care about the precise locations in the content map. But if you care about the precise locations of the content map, you can also put them manually. So there are some shortcuts in order to switch a whole bunch of fixtures from automatic to manual. So now I'm just going back to automatic, the default setting. Let's unlock the viewport. Then we can go back to the stage, see our pixels. And now something very simple we can do, for example, is to move this layer. And it moves in the content map. And as a consequence, the pixels get on and off. So maybe I'm going to create another layer here. So one I often use is called the Mangerie. So Mangerie is a shader like this. We can play it. But basically, for me, for now, it's just a way to generate some colors that are moving and now we have this. So here I showed pixels that you created one by one, but it's also possible to instantiate several pixels at once using the count parameters. So if I use only one coordinate, it will be equivalent to, so now we have a very large spacing, 1 meter between every pixel. So let's make this lower. And here I just created, so let's go back to test pattern maybe and make this a bit bigger. And I just created a group of pixels ordered in one axis. So I can also use more than one axis. So for example, now I'm using 10 by 10 pixels. Let's put the spacing the same, 10 centimeters. And now I created this array of 10 by 10 pixels. So maybe it's worth going to see the content map. So here is our rectangle of pixels. So it's not on the top left because it kept some room for the group of pixels that I disabled here. But if I change the order of those, the new automatic mapping will put our rectangle in the top left position. And of course, I can also use 3 dimensions instead of 2. So I'm first going to change the spacing and put 10 by 10 by 10. And now we have a cube of pixels, a nicely looking cube, and we can also have a look at the content map. And what we see now is that our content is made of 10 blocks of 10 by 10 pixels. So it takes this whole range here. So here, my fixture definition is a single pixel. I can show you some more parameters into this. So first of all, we can select the format of the pixel. So it can be a single grayscale. So this is actually not simulated, but will impact the info we send on the DMX. And it's also possible to use RGBW pixels, so that have an explicit white channel information. And for this, you simply check the enable white channel option here. And then you need to link to another content map that will be dedicated, or to the same, by the way, but I will create another one. So this is the white channel. And this separate content map will contain the info for the white channel, while the main content map contains the info for the RGB and the W. So now we have a test pattern here. Let's go back to the stage. And to finish this, we can link the white contents to the white channel. So this is like simulated, but you can see, so maybe if I remove the RGBW, this is what we have on the white channel. So I can maybe just reuse this green layer, send it on the white channel, put some white inside. And now I have, for example, a uniform control. So let's remove the Manjari. And my content map is still in test pattern mode. So I need to select the content mode so that the content goes through it. And now I have this uniform layer, so it's no longer green, which is going into the white channels of the pixels. And I have this Manjari layer, which is going into the RGBW channel of the pixels. And of course, I can have both together. So that's it for the very basics. Maybe we have some questions.
The question of Joe Benedetto, who asked for high level abstraction of fixtures, and because he had some RGB, W, UV, and brightness fixtures, and I think the question was about how to customize your fixture and to handle with it.
So the current limit is that we have the color content and the RGB content, let's say, and the white channel content, and that's the current limit. So in our plan, we want to make this evolve and have more and more things, including pan tilts, and it could be brightness contrast and so on. But for the moment, it's not native inside because all these things are rather new. They were developed in the last year, let's say. But you can tweak it by using pixel fixtures. You can actually send on any DMX channel, including pan and tilt channels, for example. So it's not yet ideal, but there is already a practical solution that works for this. Do we have some other questions?
No, that's it.
Okay, so I think I will let the hand to Basil, which will continue.
Yes, so no camera for me still, so I will just be by audio, and let's continue. With some more concrete example. So I will just delete all the work of Francis.
Maybe you could have started a new project otherwise. That way we can keep the work I did as an example that we will put as a download on our website.
Yeah, let's do a new project. Just changing the default compo to this. So let's start by building the LED fixture. So fixture definition and just one LED, simple LED. And I will drag and drop this to the stage. We can also, in the element, add the fixture here or a fixture array. So I will add a fixture array. So I can make a big cube. So 20 by 20 by 20. We have the cube, and also reduce the spacing between each LED. So it's more compact, and the volumetric effect will be nicer. Let's see how it goes. And maybe not 20 here. Why 30? Like this. So for start, we will show all the on here we can see that the UV map is outside my content map, so it will not work correctly. So for this, I will just change the resolution of the content map, so it fits. So to have the resolution, I will do 20 by 30, here 30, and here. And now I will have a content map which fits perfectly to the cube. And now I can send some content into it. So let's start by just sending an uniform black on the background. So we see all the LED always. So just a little bit. Yeah. So I have the view of the LED. And now let's create a volume layer which will take some SMOD primitive and will transmit it to the stage, and which will interpolate with the LED. So for the volume layer, we will need to be in the stage view, so we can see the object. In the volume layer, it can target also surfaces, LED screen, and obviously fixture. So if you have some surfaces or LED screen in your pipeline, let's create surfaces, for example, and just to show you on LED screen. And in the volume layer, as we can see, it can target LED screen and surfaces and fixture. So you can select it if you want, or choose what fixture is impacted by this volume layer. So let's delete this. So now that the volume layer is created, there is some parameter here. So display volume, we will see once I create a new object. So let's start by creating a simple box. And as we can see, it's already sunk in into the LED. So this setting, so display volume is a tool that if the fixture is not sending, we can see the volume only in the viewport. It's like a pre-visualization, so you can activate it or deactivate it. So the distance is the distance from where to where the volume object is rendered. The step is the resolution, and the density, if you don't see well the cube, you can increase it or decrease it. So fit your need in the viewport. So this parameter is for the viewport. So let's now I have my feature, so we can deactivate it for now. And as we can see, the cube is repeated inside the fixture. And we can, of course, move it around. Do we have some question, Erwan?
Yes. Actually, we have one from Sebastian Schnabel, who asks if you can show the tubes of some LED strips.
The tubes?
Yes, the tubes.
Yes. There is a fixture which type which is called a tube. So here it's a strip, but with a renderer in a tube. So let's create one. We can see it's rendering like a tube. Put it in white. So it's not a point. It's point, but it will be a tube, rendered like a tube. Okay. So let's continue with the cube. So as we can see, it interpolating the element of the cube into the LED. So make it we will make it a little bit bigger. And in the parameter of the renderer, we have not so many parameters, but we have two important parameters, which is the offset. So if you want to offset the volume, if you know OpenVDB, there is a parameter like this. You can offset the place of the border of the volume, and we can also make a soft edge. So if we increase it, we see, and let's disable, we see that the cube has a soft edge on it. And you can choose, of course, choose the function of this soft edge, like in all other layer. And the renderer also take a shader in input. So here it's just an uniform, but we can also choose with different type of renderer. So the uniform can also be some triplanar. So it's a triplanar is like in normal 3D, but it will be mapped to the internal of the element. So if I make it triplanar 6 texture and put all this space, we see it's mapped from the outside of the cube to the inside of the cube from the face. So each face will be mapped like this. It's important to know this because it will be important for the next creation. So next is the layer mode. So this is like a composition. You can make a composition inside it, like for 2D object, 3D object. Sorry. So here we can use some effect. So we can create, for example, a wireframe cube. So let's do it with this. And as we can see, it's making a cross. But if we inverse the mask, we see that it's becoming a wireframe. And if we look at the mask, it's only the border of the cube. So the cube is this layer is mapped on each face of the cube and interpolated to the inside. So the fact that the layer is empty inside, it will be interpolate on the border. So we can create an effect like this. 90%. So here I have my wireframe cube. Some question?
No question for now. Don't hesitate to ask.
No, let's see the other parameter. Then we have the gradient, which can be useful. So we can see the cube is not all but because it's applying a gradient on the U parameter of the cube. So for the cube, it's not the best, but it's like UV. So here, but maybe use X. So it's taking the red, then some green, and then some blue. So it's applying into the cube on the X-axis, and same for Y and Z. And then we have the custom. which create custom parameter, and we can select some other parameter like the noise, which will be a 3D noise, and we can see if I make it more black, and also make my cube bigger. We have a 3D noise effect into the volume layer. So you can personalize the volume and also play it on the noise. Let me to octave, and here we have a 3D noise into the LED. And then we have the 3D texture, which for the most part is a checkerboard, and it will, if you again increase the cube, you can see it making some 3D. Let's decrease a little bit. Make it 10 millimeter. 20. It's making a 3D checkerboard. So now with this, we will create the effect here. So created by Erwan. Thanks, Erwan. So for this, I will just create a new volume layer and add a geosphere in it. So let's in the volume layer disable this on my head again. And now I have my sphere, so I can move it, as you can see, like this. So let's increase it, his radius a little bit, but not touching the border, like this. And let's create a linear loop back and forth. Maybe 10 seconds. And maybe a noise. Yeah. And okay. And some more frequency. So now I have my basic element, but I want to hide the inside. So I will duplicate and also just put this here and this one here. I want to have black inside. So what can I do is to add a black sphere inside the other one. So and decrease is radius of the black one. And now I have my black one inside. So the sphere is empty. And I want to have another one inside. So again, duplicate. And this time, let's put white, this in red, and decrease this one a little bit more. We have some question, Erwan, for now?
No, just people ask why there is a Loic Choquet folder on the Windows bar.
Yeah, it's not very. It's the folder from last week for the live show of Loic. If you want to watch it, it's in the playlist Mode Academy. It was talking about grammar.
That's what you say.
Yes. So it's not my computer; it's Mode server. So. And now let's.
You don't have to say everything about what we know from Loic.
Yeah. And now let's animate this. So for now, I have only one sphere moving, but I will link the other to the first one. So let's create a link from. So now I have here inside this, I have a position of the first geosphere, and I want to have the second geosphere following, and also the third, which not showing anymore. Why? This. And I make it outside the, so the third geosphere, sorry. Okay, so now I have my three spheres following each other, but I want some delay, so which I will add is a smooth modifier on it. So as you can see, it's already making some effect to the sphere following a little bit after. And now I decay each sphere is following after. So let's pause this, and we can animate as we want the sphere in the space. And so that's it.
Little tips we have seen during the workshop, and we created this effect. It was because the structure, the LED structure, was divided in two. We have front LED strips and back LED strips. So the brightest sphere, the white sphere, has been casted into the front LED strips, and the blue one, so in this case the red one, has been broadcasted inside the back LED sphere. And this is a little tips and tricks we have just noticed during this workshop that works very well, because you have the brightest point of your LED structure with the front lightning, and the halo of colors on back lightning, and this works very, very well. So just to mention the difference, we are not able to simulate it properly right now, but it's still in development.
Yeah.
We do have another questions. People are really impatient, I think, about how the addressing is working in SMOD. And if there is any way to see the ArtNet output table.
Not for now, but you can use an ArtNet viewer like the ArtNet Dominator, which you can download, but it's in the viewer of the ArtNet is in the feature, and we will work on it soon.
Okay, thank you. So maybe before answering how the addressing works in SMOD, we have also from Charlie who asked if it's possible or not to add a feedback effect on this solid, and how to.
But I will show you just after the next example, which will use the feedback effect.
Okay, as you want.
Yeah. So for the next example, I will use a very tricky solution for now, but which is working. So let's add a new volume layer and call it this. Sphere, and let's go into my media folder. Into my 2D folder, I have some SBX file. But as I said before, the SBX there is only the primitive host mode working inside the volume layer. So if I import this SBX file into my volume layer, it will not work, and I have to do some parameter, and it's not this one, it's the exported. So this is a SBX file exported from Blender, which I made some modification inside Blender, and I will explain it just after, which will you understand better. So now I have, oh no, it was Schema 4D. It was different techniques. I have my SBX file inside the volume layer. Let's show inside inside a simple compo which to watch what look like this SBX file. As we can see, this SBX file is a character which do backflip, like the name of the file. And as we can see, each member of each bone of the element was transformed into an element. So as we can see, each element has its own animation, and it's not a rigged. It was a rigged character, but now it's only cube which are animated into 3D space. So O2 has all this cube inside the volume layer. So we can select all the one and change the 3D file into the parameter which we want. So let's take the box, and now it's primitive prompts mode, so it will work inside the volume layer. And now I just need to change the scale of each element, and as we can see, it's like before, and it also keeps the animation. So now we can choose the size of each element.
Maybe while you are
Yes.
setting the sizes for each element, I can talk a bit about the DMX addressing,
Yes.
because I see many people wonder how it works.
Yeah.
So, but you can continue doing this, Basil.
Yes.
So I showed during the first part how the UV mapping is handled. So it's either automatic or manual. And basically the DMX addressing uses the same idea. So by default, everything is automatic, and the fixtures are taken in the order in which they appear in the element tree. And they are allocated, the addresses are allocated automatically in order to make them follow one after the other inside the DMX universes. But as for the UVs, you can select any fixture and give it an explicit manual address, and then the following fixtures will automatically follow this new address. So typically, you take the first fixture of a given sequence, assign it to the beginning of a new universe, and then all the following fixtures will automatically enter into this right universe. So thanks to this mechanism, we only configure the addresses of the start of the series, and then the followings are deduced automatically.
Yes, and I will show you a little bit after a concrete example if we have the time to do it.
Yeah, we should take the time, I think, Basil, because this is really
Yeah,
important.
okay. So I don't know why, but I don't like my body. Yeah, a little bit better.
The thing maybe we can also mention is that we are using a server on the cloud from our home connections.
Yeah.
And it works really well in general.
Yeah.
But there is one thing which is a bit difficult for all users is the drag and drop, because in order to change file usage mode, we usually use the up and down drag and drop, often combined with the control and shift modifiers to make more or less precise, like Basil is doing now. And for some strange reason, it behaves not exactly like when we are in local. The feedback is not so good. So there is still something there that needs some improvement. And therefore, we saw all the guests are a bit perturbed by this, because this drag and drop gesture is very, very instinctive for
Yeah.
smart user.
Why is my foot? Left foot. Okay. Let's make this big foot nice. Okay, I have a big robot. So now that I have settled my each size of the character, I will transfer it into the volume layer. We can see it's not working again. And why? Because for now we have a reference renderer which with reference is a default surface, but we're not working with surface now. We're working with volumetric. So let's take the volumetric material. And now, as we can see, it needs to handle the volumetric. So let's wait a little bit.
It's compiling shaders,
Yeah.
I think.
Now, as we can see, I have some volumetric. So my character is very small. So let's put it bigger and too big. And also maybe I will move my LED array. So I will just select it in the 3D space, which selected into the stage. And now I have my body inside.
Can you press play?
Yeah, let's go.
And I think also it will be interesting for users to see the content map now. So maybe
Just after. And the content map is important in this case because we will add a bit late in 2sec feedback, which will use the content map to make it. So now I have my backflip, and let's deactivate this, and we can see that the character is backflipping inside the LED cube. So let's just change some color of the character. Left hand and right hand. And it's very small. figure. So now I have my character doing a backflip. What can I do to do the
Can show us the content map, please?
Yes, I show the content map. Thank you. And let's disable the helper.
Maybe you can disable the alpha also.
Yeah. And as we can see, the content map is mapping, the volume layer is mapping through the LED, is mapping the content map. So we see this. And if we enable each layer, yeah.
Who asked how many times to create it? So I think many times to create the 3D model and the animation.
It's not so long because the animation is an animation from Mixamo, so it was already made. And inside Blender, I have does I have my blend file here? Yes, I have my blend file. So let's just quickly show you inside Blender how I handle it. It's this one, I think. So here we see each element. It's not the same one, it's a walking body. But we see that the armature is here. And what I have done is to bake to take each bone of the armature and to assign it an element and bake the animation. So press bake animation, bake all, bake action, and it will do this. You can also do it with C4D. Just put constraint into the object you want and into the bone, and it will link it, and then you bake in the timeline. You bake each object animation, so you can export it to SMOD. So let's go back to SMOD and let's add the effect, the feedback effect. So for this, I will just put my volume layer inside a scene, and this scene put it into normal mode, so I can apply some effect. And now just let's add the feedback. And as we can see, it's directly applying and it's making a trace on the feedback, on the backflip. So I think it's answer the question of the feedback with the volume layer. So you just need to use a scene and the different effect you want to apply on the volume layer. You can use them normally. Yeah, like this. So you can use 2D effect, but this can be tricky because it's making it change into the 3D space. So if inside the feedback effect, I add distort 2D transform, and I move it a little bit, we can see it taking the pixel and it moving into the right. So it's moving into the other layer of the 3D mapping. So it's not so good here. So maybe the trick is to make it like this. And now the feedback is dropping. And since we don't have any other pixel and any other layer below this, we have the feedback falling down. So here it is. Maybe we can switch back to creation of a pixel. Maybe before answer the question on this, Erwan.
There is no other question. Thank you for the feedback modifier. It works very well on this composition, on this model. Sorry.
Yes, I already made it once, so not so hard for me to do this. And now let's see how to import some 3D object into a fixture. So let's switch to Blender and add a new cube, and let's subdivide it like this and export it as FBX. So cube f.fbx. Let's select object only, and then let's import it as fixture. So you take your FBX file and drag and drop it into the stage and import as fixture. As you can see, it created a fixture bank with a fixture type, which is not connected to a content map. Let's connect it to it. And also it imported all the vertex into LED. So it made a group for the FBX on a group with your object. As we can see in Blender, if we switch to UV editing, we can see each vertex has in his own UV, and in mode it could use this UV to map the pixel, as we can see here. So if I select it, we see that the UV is taken into account. But many times the UV are not good and it will need to be remade. So we can switch by right clicking to automatic UV, or also by selecting all your elements and disable the UV. And now it's all your LED are mapped automatically into the content map. And I have my cube like this. Also, another way to import some element is to use the quad of the object and not the face. For the quad to be used, it needs to be separated. So let's do edge split and then scale down a little bit each face. So this is the object I want to export. So let's do it again and export it as cube1 and import this new cube into the stage as fixture. And as we can see now, it only imported the quad, the center of the quad. And we can do with this is to create a new fixture like a strip, assign it to a content map, and with each element take the strip, and each element has in host position, and take it into account the rotation of each face along the normal of the face. So if we want to be good, we need to switch the strip to vertical, and now the strip is pointing outside like the normal. And also we can disable automatic UV. The strip is 10 pixels. There we go. Now let's switch to the DMX addressing.
Yes, I think you can show us the DMX addressing and the setup of the DMX output.
Yes. So let's use the cube here to output some DMX. So in the parameter we have we see the DMX footprint here, and we also see we can set a gap between each element. It would be useful to address some automatic fixture, light automatic fixture, but for LED is it's always following. So these settings are good here. Into the fixture, we see that we have the setting to send to DMX output. So let's go into the device tab and add a new control device. And we can add here an ArtNet or an SSAN. Let's add an ArtNet. We can disable the input, and in the output I will let the broadcast, so it's broadcasted all over the network. And let's create it and rename it
ArtNet. This is
ArtNet.
actually not a very good practice, but it will be enough for the demo. But in
Yes,
general,
and
we try to avoid to broadcast on the whole network because the Lightning devices don't like to have too much network traffic.
yes, but after when you set the broadcast, we can also set some individual unicast. And once we have one unicast output, it will not broadcast it anymore. So I do so many times is to broadcast to see if it's working, and after I will I add my my unicast output to output universe into the good fixture. So now I have my my DMX fixture. I can select it inside the parameter. I have already done, but let's take this one. And now, because I have the output on, my device is not muted in the network. I have some ArtNet packet floating because I have no fixture on the server. And now we can see in the DMX, it was already here, but the DMX is addressed here. And you can choose which address will be sent. So let's make it start at universe 3 and channel 1. And as we can see, each time we change in, we see the red dot on the element after blinking. It's because it was updating the channel and universe which will starting. So we can see it's now starting at universe 3 and the channel, and it's following. So for example, let's say we have all the first LED into a group, and this into another group, and the rest into another group. Now each group, at each starting group, it's a new controller. So I will set the universe here, and it's updating all the fixture below. So we can see it's also here. But this group is not at universe 5, it's at universe 1. So I put it at universe 1. and then this is following again at universe 1, but it's at universe 6. If by mistake I make universe 1 on universe 1, we see that SMOD tell you there is some conflict between LED fixture and some DMX channel are on each other. So we can know that the channel is superpositing. So I think it's all for the DMX mapping, Francis.
We have seen the very basics. Yes, we have seen the very basics of LED fixtures. So we hope these lives. We hope you enjoy these lives.
I can show you a concrete example, but
maybe it's better with concrete. Yes,
if we have the time. Yeah,
I think we can have. Yes, we are free.
I can just show you that with the an ArcNet shower, we see that the mapping is done. And also in SMOD it was 1, and now it's 0. It's because the ArcNet convention say the packet is starting to 1, and but in the encoding is 0. If you depending on the hardware, for example, Grandma are starting at 1, and you can choose here. It will just change the starting point of the DMX. It don't change anything on the output, but just in SMOD, if I switch to SACN, we can see that I can set this to 0, and it will be 0. But it depending on the hardware, so don't make the mistake. In ArcNet, it's starting at 1, and in SACN, it's starting at 0. You can change it here if you want. Now, let's continue with concrete. Maybe save this one. Yeah, it's a little bit strange, but I can show you this setup. So we see. We see here the LED. Here I have my element, so which was imported from Blender. This the circle. Then I have the square, which is made in SMOD. So with this fixture tip, so a strip fixture tip, and then I have the triangle. And as we can see, each element have its own DMX address, which correspond to the DMX address of the element in real life. Then I have a free content map, which is a strip content map. So it's not very important for the setup to have convenient content map, but and then I have the most important element is this perspective mapping, because we can use perspective mapping with the leg fixture, and this will send some content like some element into the LED, and will make animated. Yeah, we have some elements. Okay, now I have it. So as we can see, it's animated here. Do you have some question?
I think we should probably finish with a little previsualization of your SMOD running in your own customized fixtures, LEDs?
Yeah, so I need to set up two things. So let me do this. Okay, I have it. So it might be a little bit lagging because I have too much open windows.
Too many things on the computer in the same time.
Yeah.
But that's basically the results we get. And
Yeah.
maybe you can tell us which protocol you use. Is it DMX or ARPANET?
This is DMX, ARPANET. So this is each element has its own Wi-Fi controller. So it's by Wi-Fi for now, and the cable is just for power, and it's ARPANET through my Wi-Fi.
Okay. So that was nice. I think there are no other questions. So what's coming next?
No, there is no other question. Thanks a lot, Basil, for this demonstration.
Yeah,
maybe we can announce what's coming next. What's tomorrow?
So tomorrow will be a very special live because we will be welcoming another guest, Anthony, which will be virtually inside his usual working place, which is Paris La Défense Arena. It's an indoor stadium, which is just next to Paris. It's the biggest indoor screen in Europe or something like this, so a really massive install. Which requires 8 SWOT servers, which are in SWOTnet. And tomorrow, it might be a bit of RED again, but we will try to be virtually in the place, meaning that we will take control over all the machines there, and we will have the feedback as using a fixed camera which is there, which will send the images from what happens inside the stadium. So tomorrow, see you at the Paris La Défense Arena.
See you guys.